For some context, I'm 14 years old and I live in Salt Lake City. Anyways, the story goes like this. One day when my sister and I were young kids, about 10 years ago, we went to eat at McDonald's, as most kids do when they go to McDonald's. We loved to play in the playland, so as we always do, we played in the playland with my dad watching us. After a while, my dad noticed a man in the playland taking pictures on his phone. It was a grown man, who I believe was somewhere in his late 20s. My dad was really creeped out by this, so he confronted the man. My dad asked why he was in there, and the man replied by saying he was with his daughter in the playland. My dad told him to get out now, as he was a grown man. The man then refused. The two of them then got into a massive argument. My dad eventually started punching up on the playland where the man was sitting, and made the man jump and slam his head. He then came out of the playland yelling at my dad. He then proceeded to leave McDonald's, with no daughter in sight. It scares me to think about what might have happened if those photos might have been taken of me and my sister. When my dad told me the story, I just laughed because of how my dad is and how the guy slammed his head. But after some deep thought, it's really creepy. Back in the 90s when I was 3 years old, my mom and I were taking a 4-hour drive in our minivan to my grandmother's house to visit. When I was little, I screamed from the time I was buckled into the car seat until the time I was unbuckled, no matter how long the drive was. So, my mom stopped at McDonald's to let me play on the slides and give her ears a break from my screaming. My mom had a very specific way of loading me into the van. She was afraid of accidentally locking me inside, so she never buckled me in, closed the door, then got into the driver's seat. Instead, she climbed into the back of the van with me, locked the doors, buckled me in, then climbed up into the driver's seat. When we left McDonald's, she went through a normal ritual of putting me inside the seat. Once she climbed in and locked the doors, she started buckling me in. Suddenly, she hears someone trying to open the driver's side door. She looks up and sees a crazed man clawing at the two doors on the driver's side, trying to get in. He then runs around the other side and tries those doors while yelling to let him in. My mom starts yelling that she's going to call the cops, even though she didn't have a cell phone on her. And the man then turned around and ran into the building. My mom jumped in the driver's seat and sped away. She never told anyone about this story until now, because it scared her so badly. If she hadn't have locked those doors behind her, who knows what would have happened. I'm a male, and I was around 8 or 9 when this happened. Obviously, I don't remember much since I was a kid, so I recently asked my mom what she remembered about this day. My mom said she was taking my sister and I to see a movie. We then decided to stop at McDonald's to kill some time. All of a sudden, a strange guy wearing a purple suit followed us in and sat at a nearby table without ordering anything. After we finished eating, I got up to go clean my retainer in the bathroom sink. The man followed me into the bathroom and stood between me and the door. He asked me if I wanted a juice box. I said no, but he told me I needed to go to the car with him so I could pick a flavor. My parents had drilled into my head to never go with strangers, so I immediately knew that something was happening. I ran past him out of the bathroom door into the lobby and told my mom what was happening. He followed me out and started coming towards us. My mom stood up and stared, making a big scene. She loudly asked him why he was trying to get her son to go in the car with him. He said he was just trying to give me a juice box, and then hurriedly left and got in his car and drove off. Luckily, there was a police car in the parking lot, so we waved the cop down and told him what had happened. Unfortunately, the man in the purple suit was gone by this point. I had forgotten most of what had happened before and after the incident, but I still vividly remember the terror I felt being alone in the bathroom with him blocking the door. It was only 10 to 20 seconds, but I'll never forget that uneasy feeling. I'm so grateful my mom was smart and wise enough to know to make a scene to scare him off. I've got no idea what would have happened if I had gone out there with him. My first job was at McDonald's. This building was attached to a gas station and located off a very busy highway. I was 14, all kind of bad luck at this age, and started a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift. This early, the store was usually empty, so only 3 people, myself included, were in the restaurant. The manager, who was in the back, the cook, who would also be in the back, and I, the cashier, who was up front. I was wiping down the counter when a man who looked to be in his mid-30s or early 40s came in. He did not order a thing, but went straight to the restrooms, which were in the restaurant area, just around the corner from my cash. Many truckers and travelers would come in to simply use the washrooms and leave, so it wasn't an uncommon occurrence. I did not think much of it at first. But after the man finished, he came up to the counter and said, "Excuse me, I was just in the washroom and one of the toilets is overflowing." I immediately came around the corner and let him lead me towards the restroom. Suddenly, I got this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach and stopped dead in my tracks. I suddenly became very aware that no one was in the restaurant area, and the only other 2 people in the store were in the back, and no one would be able to hear me or see me in the restroom. The man had the restroom door open and had realized I had paused. He nonchalantly said, "Come on in, I'll show you," which came off innocently enough, but it didn't sit well with me. I smiled and said, "1 moment, I'll get my manager," and I started making my way back to the counter. "It will only take a minute," he called out. I met my manager in the back and explained to him that a man was complaining about an overflowing toilet. My manager went in to check, and I followed closely behind him. When we turned the corner, the man was gone, and when we entered the restroom, no toilet was overflowing. We both exchanged a look and never brought it up again. To this day, I feel like some divine intervention gave me the wisdom to know not to follow the man into the restroom. The whole situation only lasted a few seconds, but it felt like forever. I was young and trusting, and the man could have done God knows what to me, and no one would have heard. He could have left, got away with whatever it was he'd planned, and hit the highway. I never did see him again. So this happened about a year ago, and still pretty freaky to this day. For some context, my friend and I are both 22-year-old females. My friend Anna and I were bored on one weekend, and so we decided to go to a popular beach to take some pictures and just mess around. So we took some pictures and had a really lovely day. Then on the way back, we were starving, so we decided to stop at McDonald's in our beach town. This town is really, really famous and nice. All the celebrities live there, and it's absolutely beautiful. There's also a super famous restaurant right off the highway of the beach that's known for celebrities and rich people going. This McDonald's was directly across the street from the restaurant. Since so many famous people go to this restaurant and it's on a pretty busy road, most of them have drivers that take them, usually in big black Escalades. The drivers would usually hang out in the parking lot of McDonald's while their bosses ate across the street. Anna and I didn't know this at the time. We just wanted a McFlurry. So we go to McDonald's, and right when she gets out of the car, she starts acting really weird. She triple checks that the car doors are locked and grabs her fancy camera to bring inside. I ask her what's up, and she says there was a group of guys who were the drivers standing in front of the McDonald's smoking and staring at us, and it was giving her the creeps. I'm a pretty chill and trusting person, so I don't think much of it. It's a busy place, it's a super nice town. I'm not worried. We go in, and there are a few other people in there about our age. We get our food and sit at the table to eat. One of the drivers comes in and sits a few booths down with his back to the wall, right where he can see us. My back is to him, but Anna gets really creeped out and wants to leave immediately. This guy isn't eating nor anything. He's just staring at us. Again, this is a pretty crowded McDonald's in one of the nicest towns in Southern California, so I feel pretty safe. Living in South Central, we get used to the odd creep. Still, Anna was freaked out, so I agree to go. I just have to go to the bathroom first. It was one of those McDonald's where the counter and the main dining room were in one big room. And then there was sort of a hallway off to the side of the counter, with more seating and the bathroom at the end, way in the back. There was also a door going outside right next to the bathrooms. This bathroom has only 2 stalls. I just walked into the first one, not really paying attention to whether or not anyone else was in there. So I'm in there doing my thing. Then all of a sudden I hear the door open, and I hear Anna call my name. At this point I'm very confused since she's supposed to be watching her stuff. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? She asks, are you okay? Yeah, just doing my thing, I reply. She was like, oh, okay, and just stands there, in the doorway. After a second I hear her leave and I'm thinking, that's very weird. So I walk out of the bathroom and see her waiting by the door with all of her stuff in her hands. I ask her what's going on and why she came to the bathroom. And she just looks at me really panicky and is like, we need to leave right now. At this point, I'm still not afraid, but just confused. We rush out to the car and she starts telling me what happened. Turns out when I walked into the bathroom, the creepy driver followed me in a little while after. I don't remember hearing him come in, but maybe I did and just assumed someone had either been in the stall next to me and was leaving, or had just come in to check their makeup or something. I'll be honest, I really wasn't paying attention. I know for sure I was not aware that anyone had entered the stall next to me, because he didn't close the stall door when he came in. She was on her phone, so she didn't seem to follow me either. A young guy noticed it and went up to my friend asking if we knew the driver. Frantic, she told him that we did not and ran to check on me. He was in the stall next to me with the stall door open. It was the large handicap stall. He wasn't making a sound. She came in and didn't see him, so she called my name to make sure I was still alive. And he rushed out of the stall past her. She was in absolute shock and didn't know what to do other than grab her stuff and prepare to run. When we finally made it back to her car, he was sitting in his big black car with tinted windows next to us, still staring. We sped off, and when I got the story, we called the McDonald's to let them know what had happened. They didn't really care, and then we called the non-emergency sheriff line to report it as well, which was closed. Thank you, Malibu, for nothing. Eventually, my mom went full mama bear on me and threatened to blast it all over social media if they didn't take my report seriously, and got a hold of someone at the corporate from there. They checked the cameras, and they saw the guy follow me in. A police report was made, so hopefully this never happens again. Thank God nothing happened, but it was really scary. The guy was sitting in his car staring at us when we left. Who knows what he was planning on doing.